Okay, this is the 2023 National 5 Biology exam, paper 1. We're just going to look at the cell biology questions. So if you're revising your cell biology, we're just going to go through those questions in this paper. So what's the first thing? This diagram shows a typical plant cell. All right, now you have to be careful with some of these things because typical plant cell is what SQA think a typical plant cell is. So let's have a look and see what we can see. Right. Well, we've got these things here are the typical diagram for mitochondria, these little guys here. This thing here is a chloroplast. The K is labeling a chloroplast. This thick area here is the cell wall, but you have to be careful because J there is pointing at the inner side of that, which I think is probably going to be the cell membrane. L is pointing to a large central vacuole, and M is pointing to a nucleus. We've also got some endoplasmic reticulum over here, rough ER, which you don't need to worry about at National 5 because it's not on the syllabus. Anyway, let's see. Which of the labelled structures would also be found in a typical animal cell? Well, we definitely have a cell membrane in an animal cell and a nucleus. We won't have a chloroplast. And we won't have a large central vacuole, although we might have some small vacuoles. So I'm going to go for M and J. Let's see. Well, we can definitely eliminate anything that's got K attached to it because that's a chloroplast. Definitely not there. So it's definitely not A. And it's definitely not C. J and M only. J and M sounds like cell membrane, and L and M only. Definitely not, because if that's a cell membrane. This is just a wee bit indistinct, actually, because you could easily think that that label is pointing at the cell wall. But remember that the lines in the diagram should touch the thing they are labeling. So I would expect that if that was the cell wall, it would be the label would stop either on the outside or just in the middle of it, not on the inside layer. So that's the cell membrane, I think. L and M only. Yeah, I think it's going to be J and M only. That's a bit trappy, actually, because you could get vacuoles in animal cells, except they wouldn't be large central vacuoles like this. But I'm going to think this is the cell membrane, this is the nucleus, and I'm going to go for B, and that is the answer in the answer scheme. L and M, that is a wee bit indistinct, because you could have a vacuole, and if that was pointing at the cell wall, you could think that those two were right. So a tricky question that to start off with in the multiple choice. Okay, 4 equal sized cubes of potato were weighed and each placed into a different concentration of sugar solution. They were dried and weighed again after 1 hour. Results are shown in the table. Which solution had the highest sugar concentration? Okay, they were put into a sugar concentration. So the highest sugar concentration should be the one that has drawn the most water out of the potato, right? Because a very high sugar concentration is going to mean a very low water concentration, which means that the water concentration in the potato is going to be higher than the water concentration in the sugar solution, and water will flow from high to low by osmosis. Okay, high concentration to low concentration by osmosis. Right. So that means we're going to look for the biggest change, and 4.5 to 3.9 is good. 4.5 to 3.9 is good. 4.5 to 4.3, no, I'm going to go for A. 3. The diagram shows the sequence of bases in a strand of DNA. All right, A, T, G, C, C, A, T, T. Okay, which of the following shows the complementary base sequence for this strand of DNA? You probably only have to do the first 3. So complementary, A complements with T, T complements with A, G complements with C, and C complements with G. Now, I don't think there's going to be too many that go past that, and we'll be right. TACG, TACG, TACG is C. There you go. All right. Good. You could just carry on. Let's just carry on. C complements with G, A complements with T, T complements with A, and T complements with A. Okay, good. Which of the following statements is true for proteins? They're made in the nucleus. That's not true. They're affected by temperature. That is true. They can be found in the cell membrane. That is true. And they all function as enzymes. That's not true. Some of them function as enzymes, for sure, but not all of them. That's for certain. Okay, so what's true for the for the protein? It's 2 and 3, isn't it? So in these kind of questions, just get your head straight here and go for 2 and 3 only. Yeah, and that's A. 2 and 4 only. No, this might trap you, but they don't all function as enzymes, just some. Okay, as in a sample of 350 bacterial cells, I feel my calculator coming on here. Sample of 350 bacterial cells were modified to produce a human protein. Only 210 of these cells successfully produced the protein. The percentage success was... Okay, so what do we need to do? We put the little number over the big number and multiply by 100. Okay, so it's going to be 210 over 350 times 100. 210 divided by 350 equals times 100 equals 60%. 60%. We've got two A's in a row there. Question 6. Fermentation in yeast cells occurs in the cytoplasm. It's correct. It doesn't occur in the mitochondria. It doesn't occur in the plasmids. You don't get plasmids in yeast cells, and it won't occur in the ribosomes. So let's just identify things. Mitochondria is aerobic respiration. Fermentation is not aerobic respiration. Plasmids don't occur in yeast cells. They only occur in bacteria. Yeast are eukaryotes. And ribosomes, that's where protein synthesis occurs, not fermentation. So the answer is A. That's 3 A's in a row. Okay. Here's a respiration question. An earthworm with a mass of 7 grams uses up 3.5 centimeter cubed of oxygen in 25 minutes. Calculate the volume of oxygen used by this earthworm in 1 minute. Okay. So we're just going to divide the total volume by 25. We'll ignore 7 grams, that we don't need that. It's not saying volume of oxygen by this earthworm per minute per gram. It's just per minute. Okay, so we're going to divide 3.5 divided by, oh dear me, that's very primary school, 25 equals, let's see, cancel that one, 3.5 divided by 25 equals, and I'm going to have to hit that, 0.14, 0.14, and that's going to be that one. Yeah, the 7's in there too as a distractor. It's not there to, you don't need it. I mean, you might want to do that per gram, and then if you did the divided that by 7, you get 0.02, which is that one. So you can, see, if you do this, divide by 7, you'll get 0.02. So the answer is there if you go per minute per gram, but you haven't been asked for that. So the correct answer for number 7 is B. All right. And that's all the cell biology questions in this exam. So we'll stop there, and we'll look at the multicellular organism questions in another video. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.